Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're here to share some exciting news with you about the FaithJustice Foundation, a nonprofit organization calling faith communities to greater involvement in social justice. I'm Reverend Cynthia Johnson Oliver, the founder and president.
And I'm Reverend Chenda Ennis Lee, Program Director.
And we're just going to share with you a little bit more about the FaithJustice Foundation and about Social Justice Summer. So the FaithJustice Foundation really came out of conversations that we've been having with faith leaders in a variety of contexts that wanted to be more involved in social justice, wanted their congregations to be more involved, but didn't really know where to start. And so through Social Justice Summer, we invite you to start here. So the FaithJustice Foundation really came out of the ministry of the Faith Justice Forum at Annandale United Methodist Church. And our goal is to equip and empower faith communities who want to or already are engaged in grassroots social justice ministry, advocacy, and action. So Social Justice Summer is our first major initiative, and it's really a call to action, but also a call to discipleship, yes. Right? Yes. A call to study, to spend a dedicated time of study, of preaching, worship, small groups around social justice, and to commit to taking one social justice action during the summer. You can spend 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you can pick the times and dates of your choosing, but we invite you to be a part of the conversation. We have chosen for our first book study a great book, a phenomenal book called Just Mercy, by Bryan Stevenson. And it's a phenomenal book about the criminal justice system and about mass incarceration. And Chenda, I was wondering, what were your thoughts in reading the book? I mean, it's a really powerful presentation on this topic. What did you think?
Just Mercy was an amazing read for me. It was very eye-opening. I am an immigrant in this country, legally. But I have not been very aware of all the ways in which systemic racism plays out through the criminal justice system. So through the narrative that Bryan Stevenson presents in this book, I was educated on the level of how mass incarceration does not only affect the individual, but also affects the families as well, and also the communities that these people are part of. So it was a very powerful read for me, and also just helped to solidify my desire and the call that I feel to preach and teach on issues of justice, especially in this country and as it relates to Black and brown bodies here. So I highly, highly recommend the book. And Bryan Stevenson, actually, he's the founder of Equal Justice Initiative, which is a nonprofit organization that works towards helping, especially helping poor people in particular, with the defense that they need when they are faced in these situations, or put into the criminal justice system and don't have any support, a way of getting out of that. So the stories are very personable, and I really enjoyed how he humanizes the people that are affected by the injustices of mass incarceration. So I'm glad that it's a starting point for our organization, and I hope that people who decide to join us for Social Justice Summer will also be moved to continue to act on behalf of those who are treated unjustly in our country.
And so one of the challenges was to ground this book in a conversation about faith. And so we created a sermon series to go along with the book study.
Yes.
And so what were your thoughts in the sermon series?
So the sermon series was created on a 4 to 6 week schedule. And basically what we did was read each chapter, look at each chapter, and find scripture passages that spoke to or speak to the issue that Brian Stevenson was talking about in that particular chapter. So again, it's just a clarion call for those of us who are people of faith to really look at the biblical narrative and see how it is that God is calling us to be more just in our relationships with one another. So there is a scripture passage from the Old Testament, the gospel, and also the epistle readings. Mm-hmm. And then we also have a call to worship for those of you who are liturgical in your orientation. There's a call to worship that goes with that as well. So, but it's very, it's open, and you can choose to use all 3 passages, or you can choose to use one of the passages, but they all really are grounded in each of the chapters that from the book, that we have in the book.
Right. I think about scriptures related to social justice. One of my favorites is the one in Luke chapter 4 when he quotes Isaiah at the start of his ministry. Yeah. Right, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. What's one of your favorite social justice?
I like the passage from Amos, let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. And just, I am driven by Jesus' own ministry and how he associated himself with those who are marginalized in society, those who are affected by the systems and structures set in place to keep people in cycles of poverty and marginalization. So as people of faith, we cannot have that disconnect. We cannot disconnect what Jesus did in his ministry from the lived realities that people face each and every day.
Right. So you and I both went to seminary.
Yes.
And we always sort of taught, there's always almost an unspoken joke, if you will, that some things you can't take to the congregation, right? Paul Tillich and
and Karl Barth and Bonhoeffer.
They not preach
or Moltmann.
Exactly, Heidegger. And so, but we learn Old Testament, New Testament. We learn theology, but we also learn ethics.
Yes. And
yet many churches forget or aren't willing to explore the ethical and social justice dimension of what we're called to do as people of faith. And so to help you sort of tie that together, we have the book study, we have the sermon series, and we're also recommending that you form small groups, social justice small groups. Now, many people are familiar with small groups because it's really a long-standing form of Christian discipleship.
Yes.
Used by the early church in the book of Acts. They were called house churches.
Yes.
Then the Methodist class system that John Wesley introduced, and also a number of growing non-denominational churches use small groups today. So we feel that if you want to get involved in social justice, that the starting point is always discipleship.
And community.
Exactly. Yes. That we have to study this together. Right. We have to learn this together so that when we take action, right? We take informed action. We take action that's contextualized. We take action that's actually helpful. Rather than something that we want to do. So you can take the book study as well as the sermon series. And you can gather with your small groups and have conversation about this so that you can study it more and learn it more. And then, once you've done that and been able to apply the scripture as well as the book and see how it's affecting your community and your context. Some of you may already have small group ministries. But if not, this is a great time to start, to experiment with having small groups. But once you've done the book study, the sermon series, and the small group, we invite you to commit to taking one social justice action.
One, not a whole lot, just one.
Just one. That you either take by the end of the summer or that you plan by the end of the summer. One, I think, important one that's going to be over the summer is voter registration.
Yes.
We have midterm elections coming up. Voter registration is something that can be done and needs to be done by law in a nonpartisan manner. We have some information about voter registration on our website. Other examples could be writing letters to your leaders, whether to Congress or to your local, your state legislature or city council about an issue that's pressing at whatever level you choose. The Bread for the World has a great program called the Offering of Letters. We're going to put a little bit more about that on our website. But by becoming informed, by studying it, by proclaiming the word about it, by discussing it in community, and then preparing yourself to take one action, we think we can begin a greater and much richer conversation about faith and social justice and lay the groundwork for many churches to start social justice ministries.
Yes. Yeah, this is really a starting point for us. A lot of it is new, so it's trial and error for us, but it's really something that we're very passionate about. And we feel a strong sense of call to help this organization thrive, and for churches in particular, communities of faith, to really begin to, again, merge their faith and action, that Christianity is not just about our personal spirituality, but it's about accountability with one another and community with each other. So what affects another should affect me as well. So it's really what Jesus did, and it's how he lived his life. And we are passionate about that. We hope you will join us. We hope that you will check out our website, www.faithjusticefoundation.org. Click on our Social Justice Summer link. You can register so that you can be on the listserv of churches who are engaged in Social Justice Summer. And also just be in prayer. Be in prayer for us as we're beginning this. Be in prayer for your congregation. Maybe this is something new, or maybe God had laid this on your heart and you've been wanting to do it for some time, but just have not had the confidence or even the support to do it. So pray about it, bring it to your leadership, talk about it, and just take some sort of step, even if it's just reading the book. Maybe you can't quite get to the small groups and the sermon series just yet, but you read the book and you're informed on mass incarceration in our country. But that's one thing that you can do to really further this cause as people of faith stand up for issues of justice in our country.
And you can choose one, right? If you can't do the summer series this summer, you can do the small groups, or vice versa. You can pick and just get involved at whatever level you can. But we're inviting you really to join us at this ground level.
Yes.
As we're starting out. We believe that this is a vision, that God has blessed us with it, and we've written the vision.
We're trying to make it plain.
We made it plain. And we invite you to join us. We welcome your feedback if there's something you'd like to see. But we invite you to just go to our website, register for Social Justice Summer. When you register, you'll receive a downloadable packet of information. And your church will also, or your faith community, or your organization will also appear in our Find a Church tool on our website, because we want people who are interested in social justice churches to be able to find them.
Yes.
And so we have a Find a Church, and when you register, your congregation or organization will be included on that map, and we'll be able to find you, and people will be able to find you. So we thank you for joining us for our first
Facebook Live,
video. You can't see Robin, but she's behind the camera, and we're grateful for her help today. Thank you, and God bless you. And we look forward to hearing from you about Faith Justice Foundation and about Social Justice Summer. Thank you.
Thanks.